Did you know that the captain of the Swiss national team, Granit Xhaka, went from being considered surplus to requirements at Arsenal to becoming the powerhouse of Alonso League-winning Bayer Leverkusen? But how did he go from not being able to make the starting 11 at Arsenal to becoming a key player for Alonso? Early life. Granit Xhaka, along with his brother, began playing football at Concordia Basel. But he was with Concordia Basel for a short while before joining FC Basel. He went through the various youth teams before making his first team debut on July 28, 2010. He came in as a substitute in the 88th minute and scored a goal to ensure his team won the match. Scoring in his debut perhaps made it look like Xhaka would be a player that can be relied on to get the goals. But he clearly isn't such a player. Rather, he is one who creates chances for others to score. This is something the likes of Victor Boniface can attest to. Xhaka was successful with Basel. As a member of the first team, he played in 67 competitive games and was able to score 4 goals. Moving out of Switzerland. On May 18, 2012, Xhaka joined Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Bundesliga on a 5-year deal. Although he featured in UEFA competitions, Xhaka was still a relatively unknown player until he joined Arsenal in May 2016. He actually wasn't their initial target. Nonetheless, they settled for him when they couldn't bring in N'Golo Kante to the Emirates. Although Xhaka provided his bit for the team, his stay at Arsenal was actually quite rough. He rose to the position of captain, only to be stripped of the armband after a short while. This was followed by a quiet withdrawal from the team. At some point, it seemed like he was going to leave the North London club. However, everything changed with the arrival of Arteta. With Arteta's assistance, Xhaka was not just back in the team, he became a key player, and he is obviously grateful to Arteta for the chance to get back onto the team. Speaking of his return to the team, he said, "He, Arteta, turned me around and gave me a second chance, and he showed me he trusted me, and I tried to give him everything back." Xhaka won 2 FA Cups with Arsenal after being in the team for 7 years. He perhaps didn't plan to leave when he did. However, with Arteta looking to strengthen his squad, there was no guarantee for first-team football for him. So, he left for Bayer Leverkusen. Now, for several folks, Xhaka leaving Arsenal for Bayer Leverkusen seemed like moving backwards. Of course, Arsenal are the bigger and more successful team, but things have turned out differently. You see, at Arsenal, Xhaka was an important player, but he wasn't as important as he is in the Bundesliga. That's perhaps one good thing about leaving Arsenal. But it gets better. The 31-year-old didn't exactly go to Leverkusen to win trophies. Of course, he wanted to win as many trophies as possible. Sadly, the Bundesliga was dominated by Bayern, so the chances of him winning anything serious with Leverkusen were almost non-existent. Interestingly, contrary to his expectations, he has won the Bundesliga in his first season with Bayer Leverkusen. And it doesn't end there. He was perhaps the most important player in this campaign. How important is Granit Xhaka to Bayer Leverkusen? Not many people saw Xhaka putting pen to paper for Bayer Leverkusen, and when he did sign for the German champions, there were speculations that he wasn't going to cope. Well, against all odds, the most capped player in Switzerland has gone on to become not just an important player for the German club, but the most important man in the club to Alonso. What was Bayer Leverkusen like last season? Leverkusen were already looking to dominate the league last season, but they were just not there yet. With the arrival of Alonso, they went from battling with relegation to becoming a threat to the more established teams in the league. They already had lots of good players and were beginning to give the big boys in the league a run for their money. But something was missing. They were solid defensively, but they needed a blend of balance and creativity, and that's what Xhaka brought to the table. Xhaka was perhaps not considered world-class while he was at Arsenal. However, with his loyalty to Bayer Leverkusen, the world now sees him differently. He returned to Germany with a certain intelligence and vision that were lacking in the Bayer Leverkusen team. He might not be considered one of the best midfielders by several football fans. However, he has been an absolute monster in the Bundesliga this season. He has made more progressive passes than any other player in the Bundesliga. Beyond simply giving progressive passes, apart from worse, no other player has made more passes in the penalty area in the Bundesliga this season. Not many people know this. However, Xhaka is clearly in his own class. For some reason, even Arsenal didn't know this, but this is something every Leverkusen fan can attest to. It appears that Xhaka has helped Bayer Leverkusen improve, and even the statistics show this. If Xhaka's progressive passes and passes in the penalty area do not mean much, then the fact that he is the player with the most touches of the ball in the middle third of the field in the Bundesliga should help you understand what he brings to the team. That's not all. The Swiss captain has given away the ball just once all season. That's as impressive as a player can get. Xhaka has been a big revelation this season, and several folks at Leverkusen has given their opinions. One stated, "I'm very satisfied with his performances. He is an exceptional player. He keeps the pace for our team and has an undisputable personality on and off the field. He always goes ahead with the character he has. We are very happy." Is there more to Xhaka's contribution? Xhaka's abilities on the pitch have helped his team greatly, but his contribution to the Bundesliga club is a lot more than his technique and vision. The former Arsenal player is a major force in the Leverkusen side, but in addition to directing the game, he has provided his team with the drive they need to dominate the Bundesliga. He doesn't just play football, he spends ample time on the pitch, providing direction to his teammates. That's not all, he has also helped his teammates raise their games. Before the arrival of the Swiss to Leverkusen, Ezequiel Palacios, who happens to be his partner in the midfield, was already playing well. However, with the arrival of the most capped Swiss player, Palacios is on a whole different level and has become a lot more consistent. We always knew that Xhaka had a big personality, that he was an important dressing room voice and a real leader, but now his football has gone to another level in the last couple of years, and I think that is because of the influence of Alonso and Mikel Arteta as experienced former central midfielders. It is clear that with Alonso playing or taking part in many sessions himself and still being the best player on the pitch, you can pick up on so many things if you're willing. With Xhaka, I think he's still very willing and happy to learn, and you could see an improvement. I think that there is a reason why he was captain at Arsenal. There's a reason why Leverkusen was desperate to get him in. Alonso effectively built a team around him to a certain extent. Xhaka has been one reason why they've managed to instill this togetherness and real team mentality that the past Leverkusen teams haven't always been able to produce. Because of their nature as sort of a stepping stone for many players, he's one of the main reasons why Leverkusen have now gone from being a very good team to being a superb side. How did Xhaka become so good? Just a season ago, not many people would have thought of Granit Xhaka in a conversation about the best midfielders in the world. But after his contribution to Bayer Leverkusen's successful league campaign, the football community's perception of him has changed. It is clear he's not an average star. As a matter of fact, he might not be as good as lots of your favorite midfielders on paper. But if his performance this season in the heart of Leverkusen's midfield is anything to go by, Xhaka is clearly not the player he used to be. It might be easy to understand that Granit has taken his game to another level. However, one thing not many people know is how he was able to do this when most people expected his level to drop. Well, the captain of the Swiss national team has attributed his success to the coaches he has worked with. As much as Arteta has a hand in helping him become the player he is today, he thinks his amazing form has Alonso written all over it. While still an active player, Alonso was one of the best in the world. As a matter of fact, in an era in which Barcelona players dominated the Spanish midfield, he was one of the players from outside Barcelona that had a spot in the Spanish starting 11. Although Alonso can no longer do the things he did on the pitch, it quite seems like he is able to do them through Granit Xhaka. So, we might as well refer to the Swiss as an Alonso Regan. It was a privilege for me to have Michael first, and now Xabi. Xhaka explained, "First of all, Xabi was an amazing player and for me, a midfielder. What Xabi shows me in the small details on the pitch is something special. A lot of people asked me, why are you going to Germany? It's a step back. But for me, it's not a step back, it's a step forward. It's been very good for the team, but for me as a person too. I learn from Xabi every day. It's a dream to play for him. He was world class in the position, and he still gives me things to learn from. We see him every day. He runs almost more than us in training. Xabi transmits his hunger and desire to win. And of course, we also try to show that we want the same thing. As long as he's here, we'll have fun." What does Alonso think? Alonso knew just what he was doing when he wanted to get Xhaka so desperately. He sees the most capped Swiss player as fantastic, but he thinks he is more than just a player. And this is why you should do more than just watch this video. If you are enjoying it, please hit the like and share buttons. Also, smash the subscribe button to see more videos like this. Alonso thinks Granit is fundamental. When you are talking and sending messages to the team, we talk a lot. But when you're not there and you go to your office and the team is on its own, you need 2 or 3 guys to repeat the message you've been given. Then you know you have a big part of the team in your hands. International career. Xhaka is currently the most prominent player from Switzerland, and it is easy to say that he became prominent just after his team won the Bundesliga. But the Swiss captain has been prominent for a long time. Long before coming to the limelight, Xhaka won the Under-17 World Cup in 2009. This tournament was hosted by Nigeria, and the Swiss team beat the Nigerians to win it. After doing well at the Under-17 level, he went on to represent Switzerland across various age groups. Although he didn't have a problem playing for Switzerland at the youth level, when it was finally time to play for the Swiss senior team, he seemed reluctant. He had to make a hard choice between playing for the Switzerland and playing for Albania, which happened to be his parents' country. He seemed interested in playing for Albania. Sadly, he was getting ignored while Switzerland was showing a lot of interest in having him on their side. Xhaka had his senior team debut on June 4, 2011. This was in a 2-2 draw against England at Wembley. Although he got his national team call-up quite early, he didn't score so quickly. He had to wait for his 6th match before he got his first goal for the Swiss national team. As a Swiss international, Xhaka came close to playing at the 2012 Olympics. However, he turned down this offer as he had just joined a new club and was looking to focus on settling. Staying off the 2012 Olympics didn't mean he didn't want to compete for the Swiss national team, as he was an active part of Switzerland's World Cup qualifiers. In addition to taking part in the qualifiers, he got named in the squad that headed to Brazil. He actively took part in this World Cup and even got on the scoreboard. Sadly, getting on the scoreboard was simply an individual achievement, as his team got thrashed 5-2 by France. After a disappointing outing at the World Cup, Xhaka represented Switzerland at Euro 2016. The first match of the tournament for Switzerland was just like any other match. However, it was quite an emotional 90 minutes for Xhaka as he had to play against Albania, which happens to be his home country. That's not all. His brother was on the Albanian team. Xhaka ended up being voted man of the match in Switzerland's 1-0 victory over Albania. Xhaka was on active duty in this tournament and featured in all of Switzerland's matches until they were eliminated in the round of 16. After his participation in Euro 2016, Xhaka and his teammates were preparing to go to the 2018 World Cup in Russia. But something happened. There were rumors that he would be switching allegiance to Kosovo. However, he made it clear that he was sticking with the Swiss team. He had already taken part in a couple of international tournaments with Switzerland, so it was impossible to represent another nation. What's next for Xhaka? Xhaka is just 31 years old, so he should be in the game for a while. He could decide to hang his boots though, without anyone seeing it coming. But the Bayer Leverkusen winning the Bundesliga and going to the Champions League next season, I doubt if he will be interested in leaving the game at this stage. You see, he might not be their most recognized player. However, he is clearly their most important player, and if the German champions will do well next season, they have to keep him in the mix. The only exception to this is if he loses form, which we hope will not be the case. Xhaka is still active in the game, but after the hanging his boots, unlike other players who might not be exactly sure of what they want to do next, he will go on to become a coach. This is quite obvious, as he is taking coaching classes and trying to get his certification. Also, he spends time coaching players at the Bayer Leverkusen Academy, so there is no doubt about what he wants with his life. Hopefully, he ends up like Alonso, Xabi, or Pep, and not like Gerrard or Lampard.